Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, the Rising VTuber and artist, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of comic work. So, last week we started getting a handle on the coloring for pages 1 and 2. Today we're going to be working on, it's going to be a little less in order. That's mainly because, that's for a good reason as well. You see, between pages like 1, 2, and I want to say like 5, the coloring is going to stay mainly the same, right? Because it's not like we're in that dark hallway for most of the time. But then, starting from page 5, we shift to a different scene, it's a different location. So we're going to need a slightly different color scheme for it. So what I'm going to do is... Well, first I got to figure out a couple of things, but I'll worry about that. But, we've got a pretty good handle on like what we need to do, so let's get started. Alright. Oh yeah. You might notice that I have access to a couple new fancy schmancy features these days as well. That's because I took the opportunity while it was on discount sale to get the... And hang on. Oh my god, there's so many layers in this one frame. And there's going to be many more. But yeah, the good news is that, like, as long as I don't think about it too hard, these pages should be pretty easy. I think if I start to panic, that's when I've already lost. That's definitely how it works. But yeah, I managed to get the, the EX version of this program during the sale event that they're having. Because they finally released version 2.0 of the program. They've started doing a big sale. If you've never bought Clip Studio Paint before and you just want a little bit of a taste of it, or actually, most of the features, I've been using the regular version of this program for most of the time I've been streaming. Literally today is the first time I'm using the EX version. So if you've ever wanted to do like a paint program, now's a good chance to get it. But yeah, I ended up buying the discounted version mainly because, first of all, it's cheap as hell to get the upgrade, right? Well, relatively speaking, it's cheap as hell. It's still an art program, and it costs like art program money, but I've got that covered. But it is like a good opportunity to get it because, they're having a huge sale event, but also the EX version of the program has like a bunch of more features that you can use. Like, for example, you can use like multiple pages open at once. I still need to figure out the comic working mode. I've been a little busy. Hang on, what's going on? What's going on right here? Hang on. No, hang on. What's this? What's all this? There's like some kind of weird effect going on there. I think I know which layer it's going to be on. Okay, it's this one. Why is it on the... Okay. Oh, it must be because I shifted the tone a little bit. All right, I know how to figure this out. Hang on. All right. Refer to editing layer only. Well, that's weird. It's taking a little while. Try to connect it. Did it accidentally select everything? No, that should be fine. Oh, there we go. It took it a minute, but we got there. But yeah, the good thing about the EX version is that now it has a couple more additional features. So now, for example, I have the ability to have multiple pages open, I think is how it works. I still need to do a little bit more research about like the comic making capabilities of CSP. I know they're mighty. I know that they're like, Clip Studio Paint is like the comic making application in most circles, in the majority of circles. So I do know that it's powerful, but I don't know what it do. I've only been like longingly staring at it from the mirror all this time. Not in the mirror. And like I want you to imagine a rainy day in like a British city, and I'm just like wistfully staring at the EX version from like the front of a window, hoping that maybe one day I'll get to try it on, but knowing that because of my station it shall never be allowed. That's kind of how it's been going. That's kind of like the idea of it. I don't know what it do, but I do know that it do something. What did it do? I do know that I can make GIF animations now. I say GIF because I like. Do you guys know how like when you think too hard about something, you end up doing it wrong? Like if you think too hard about walking, right? You like start being overly conscious of how you walk. For me, pronouncing GIF is the same way because like I'll be like, oh right, time to say the GIF word, and I'll be like, wait, there's two ways to pronounce that. Which one did we want to do? Yeah, we'll say GIF with a hard G because that's how we said it before we knew the secondary pronunciation. I'll be like, all right, boss, and then I say GIF because I don't know why. Like because I thought about it, suddenly I have to say it with like the hard G, like GIF. Well, no, it's not even a hard G. It's with like an it's a J. That's what it is. It's J. It's like saying like jalapeno, which isn't really a comparable situation since jalapeno is spelled with a J. Like jalapeno does very much have a J in its name. Anyway, that conflict has been resolved. So anyway, I started blasting. No, okay. I forgot what I did to this panel to make it like this, and that's going to be a problem because I need to make like a copy of it that has those colors. Oh wait, no. Oh, it okay. It's with a okay. I see. Never mind. I'm a genius. Yeah. Do you guys see how many layers are in here? I've been cooking. But yeah, I think right now we're just going to need to focus on the characters. Yeah, the process is getting faster because I understand a couple more things now, right? I understand, like, okay, what the workflow is for the actual art process. That sounded so pretentious. That's not what I meant to say. I understand the workflow for coloring a little bit better, particularly coloring in this method, because although my art style, the way I use vector layers and everything, is basically in such a way that I can just go back to the vector layer and just color it in whenever I like. I did also go into this thinking that it would only ever be a black and white thing. Maybe in like a few months I would have to go in and color it and I could figure it out then. So I didn't really have a workflow in mind when doing this. But now I do. Or at least I have a working method, right? I have like it's like how like the Wright brothers had a work, the Wright brothers did that thing with the plane, not because they thought it would fly forever, but because they knew it would, work, basically. That doesn't make any sense. They wanted like a working prototype. So that's what I have now, a working prototype. Yeah, I can't wait. I honestly cannot wait to learn animation, though. Like, I'm probably not going to do any like long form, super fancy animation. At least not at the very beginning. But I do want to see like what my new potential can become now that I can make like animated, what do you call, animated props. Because like I made the chainsaw that one time, right? I made the chainsaw for like the RE4 playthrough, but I don't, that was, yeah, that. It's actually really funny how I had to make that. So see, the regular version, the cheaper version, they call it a Pro versus EX, which sounds really weird. I feel like the higher price version should be Pro, and like the lower price version should be like Debut or something. And that's semantics. That's semantics, and that only I really care about. So I'm gonna go off of that topic. Anyway, the version of Clip Studio Paint that I was using until very recently didn't give you the ability to export to .gif, right? It didn't give you that ability. If you wanted to export to GIF, you needed to wait a second. Hang on here. Is this right? There shouldn't be like a belt loop here just yet. Let me go fix that in the other page 7. But yeah, in the version of CSP that I was using, you couldn't export to GIF, right? You couldn't do that because, well, I guess they needed some kind of feature barrier to motivate you to buy EX. But you couldn't export to GIF. So what I ended up having to do was I had to export it in this file format called an APNG, which is normally a format used for like mobile phone stickers. And after that, I had to go to a site that converted APNG to GIF. And let me tell you, the changes that it made to, like, I remember being super freaked out because it made like so many weird, like it felt like really off when it was converted from APNG to GIF. Or, yeah, no, from APNG to GIF. And I was like, oh no, it looks awful. It looks so weird. Oh no, no, no. And then I slapped it on. I was like, you know what? Whatever. It's just a funny little chainsaw prop. Nobody's going to notice. And I was right. Nobody did notice. Or if you did, you were all very polite about it. And I am grateful. Let's see. But yeah, that's one of the big benefits that I'm looking forward to. It's being able to make like animated props. And just animations in general, like little short animations. I want to start to get competent with those because it just seems fun. You know? Although I really like, the thing about me is, right, that I will almost never underestimate like how difficult something's going to be. Like I approach everything with like the same kind of, I want to say like caution. Caution might not be the right word. Hesitation, maybe. So I think that's a good. Actually think that that's like a legitimately good quality of mine. I'm a very cautious person, and I never give like anything like underestimation because I think that that's like that it has saved my bacon a few times. Just being like so uber prepared and over prepared and wanting to like be able to be completely prepared for a challenge, that's helped me a lot. I can't think of any particular situations right now. I think the best examples are like when I'm traveling. Like if I ever bring something while I travel, it'll usually end up being useful. Like I remember one thing. Okay, one example is that in high school, I always used to have duct tape in my bag. Like, not, that's a funny little thing. It started off as a bit, but, I just had it on hand. So now whenever somebody like, oh no, I accidentally broke a little bit of this chair off, or, oh no, I need somebody to like affix this thing with an adhesive, I could just step in and be like, I got you covered. That felt good. I enjoyed that. I think that's the main reason that I like being prepared, is that I can just I'm in a good position if somebody needs help or if I myself need assistance. Being prepared helps with that. I was thinking about that earlier, right? I was thinking, like, I everybody has like their guilty pleasures, right? Like the thing that some things that they read that they know might not be, they know is maybe a little embarrassing, or like maybe they feel like they don't want other people to know that they read it because of like how they'll be judged, right? My thing for that is shitty Shensha martial arts webcomics, poorly translated, crappily made with no cohesion or storyline. I love them. All right, especially if they're like on the focus of the actual martial arts rather than like, oh hey, I can now like blast people apart with my mind. Dope. Right, I have those as a guilty pleasure. And okay, I swear to God, I had the thread of this conversation just a minute ago. Okay, we were talking about duct tape. Okay, so we were talking about duct tape. I started talking about guilty pleasures for some reason. What's the connecting line between these two? Okay, I think I might have lost a string. No, I definitely lost a string. Shit. All right. Well, I guess the stream's over. I lost track of what the hell I was talking about. All right, let's see. Nope. Nope. It's gone. It's long gone. Let me talk about something else then. Earlier today, so I talked a little while ago about how like Starbucks was introducing a new drink, right? They were going to start making this olive oil infused latte. It has to be an iced latte for several reasons, least of all which is that do you really want like hot oil in your drink? Probably not, right? So I read somebody like who made a recipe for a knockoff version of it. So they basically just got like they made iced coffee. You know, they got coffee, they got ice. You can put ice and coffee together. That chills it. So they did that. They got about 4 tablespoons of liquid creamer, and then just I think like 1 tablespoon, like very 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 little amounts of olive oil. Blended together the olive oil and the creamer, and then they added it to the iced coffee, which made a knockoff version of it. The actual explanation of like what was needed for that recipe was maybe 1 paragraph. This person somehow hyped this thing up with like 6 paragraphs before. Like it's always a joke that like any cooking or recipe blog that you can like shake a stick at, you know, you close your eyes, you point at a random recipe blog on this horizon. Good chances are they'll have like a full novel length like preamble before they actually get to the recipe. This one was like particularly egregious because, well, first of all, I read it like 15 minutes ago, but second of all, like it's just been a long time since I've had to look at a recipe blog. I don't think I've made something from a recipe in quite some time now. So I think that's what mostly caught me off guard. But I forgot that they did that. I forgot that they had like 18 pages of preamble before that. Like, is that why some life hack videos take like 10 minutes but only have like 2 minutes of footage? Like, it felt like the equivalent of that. I'm not a fan of the fact that that's cross contaminating to other forms of media. You know, I don't want. You know how like everybody's talking about like the TikTokification of like different apps, like how like now Spotify will like show artists that you might like based on an algorithm. It it feels a lot like that, right? Like at some point, people who put useful information on the internet stop being like, you know, just like nameless heroes and started needing to be like personalities and everything. And you know, while they are still heroes, they like the inclusion of that component of like needing to have a personality to go along with it. Not even the inclusion of it, but like the weird, almost unnecessary necessity. Because like sometimes, you know, sometimes I will say that I think it's a good idea when you can get a bit of a handle on the person's personality, because I feel like sometimes in some tutorials you need to just have that. I'm gonna call it like nigh on spider sense of like whether or not this person thinks the same way as you. Like, how do I put this? Like, imagine if you went on a blog for instructions on how to ride a bicycle, and you were somebody who, you know, maybe let's say that maybe you have some history in like sports. You like played sports in high school, right? Now, if this person like fumbles a football analogy in front of you, you'll be like, oh, okay. So maybe we're not on the same on nearly the same wavelength as I thought. Like the thing, like sometimes you can tell that like a person made a tutorial, but like wasn't. Oh, hang on, I shouldn't add shading to this just yet. Or maybe if I should, I'm going to at least do it on a different layer. Hang on. Uh-oh. I think I messed up. Oh well, I'll get it back later. Anyway. I was talking about something. Oh yeah, wait, like, okay. So the reason that I think that those preambles can be useful sometimes is mainly because they occasionally give you an insight into like what the person you're dealing with is talking about, and sometimes that can save your life. Because, if you're looking for like a vegan recipe for like, I don't know, potato pancakes, why would you need a vegan recipe for potato pancakes? Those don't have any meat in them. So say you looked up a recipe for potato pancakes because you want it to be redundant, and the person who's giving you that recipe is saying like, oh yeah, to reduce sodium you can do this and that, and you immediately kind of like roll your eyes a little bit and kind of move on to the next recipe. Like that's kind of what I mean. I feel like sometimes they need to showcase that in order to make you understand that maybe, just maybe, you guys don't have the same goals in mind for the thing you're trying to create. I ran into this problem a lot. Actually, when I ran into this problem a lot was when I was trying to make my when I was trying to make PABS 3D. That's when I ran into this problem like a lot, because of the fact that a lot of these people had, they emphasize like eye movement, they emphasize like, I don't know, like detail and everything, and they were like very helpful with that. But the problem is I don't have what you would call detail right on my model. I feel like you could do one of those like Kirby style presentations with me, right? Like you could be like, you remember that one song that was like, draw a circle, add the eyes and a big happy mouth, and presto, it's Kirby. Right? Like, there you go, that's Kirby. I feel like I could have something similar for myself. Although I would need to workshop that. I am yet to be musically inclined. Speaking of which, actually, no, that doesn't have anything to do with anything else. And actually, this should probably be a little bit further up. Oh yeah, I've noticed as well. Well, I was talking about something. God, I don't know what. I don't know why my like problems with short term memory are worse on some days than on others. Maybe it's the amount of sleep I'm getting. I've been getting subpar like quantities of sleep, not quality. I've been having some great quality sleep actually, but quantity of sleep is my main factor. I feel like once I get to bed, I like conk out properly. Like quality isn't the determining factor; it's the quantity for me. Hmm. All right, let's cascade that to the other page. That's also another reason why I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful I decided to, push myself to do the color pages, because I think it was a good idea to, I have a bad habit that if I'm close to finishing a project, I want to have it done. I want to like have it out of my life. Mainly because I'm probably like itching to start something new or something like that. But I notice this happens to me with games as well. Like I start getting impatient when I'm closer to completing a game, like Disco Elysium, right? I played that game on stream, and I could have gotten. I think knowing what I know about the game now, I could have gotten like much more out of it if I'd just had a little bit more patience with it and with myself with it. But I was like, okay, I'm getting a little tired of like, you know, satirical police investigation action, tactical police action. Tactical wet dog simulator. That's a good tagline for Disco Elysium in terms of its role play. It's like a wet dog simulator. You're like some miserable beast lumbering around. What do you call freaking Martinez? Oh yeah, I also learned about this thing, the Yermby color wheel. I I feel like this could have a better name, but apparently that's what it's called. So this is a version of the color wheel that, rather than just having it into like in like orange in like a rainbow pattern, also has it in, so it goes like red. Okay, so it goes yellow, orange, red, which is like what the Yerm comes from. But it also has like magenta, blue, cyan, and green. And apparently this is much better for a color wheel than, like, your conventional like rainbow colored color wheel, like maybe the one that I have down here at the corner here. Wait, actually, isn't that isn't it is it basically the same thing? Hang on. I'm gonna try something real quick. I have something to prove. A theory I want to test out. Okay. Let me just maybe that big should be good. Okay, so now if we rotate this around, flip it sideways. Huh. I guess the real color wheel was the friends we made along the way. To be fair, this, the color wheel is not as segmented as it should be. Like, the reason why it's sometimes difficult to choose the exact color you want is because you don't have, maybe you don't have, you have too many options. I think that's the problem. Rather than it like being like not enough options, you have too many options when it comes to the color palette, because you have literally every pick. Well, maybe not literally, but most every 10 pixels or so, you've stumbled on a new color, which can be a problem because there's at least a few dozen pixels here. There's at least 12 or more pixels. We're getting reports that this image has at least one pixel in it. Everyone, please be careful. But yeah. So, that helps narrow it down. But yeah, that's really funny to think about. Anyway, where was I? Right, okay. So let's keep coloring this. Wrong layer. Yeah, I think maybe the biggest challenge in this panel is going to be the background, because we have the colors for the background now, but the problem is we don't have, it's not as fast as I would like, because we still have to, the background back there. It's not something that I can replicate, because I explicitly made it so that this section... Okay, so you can see that it has like a little bit of blur in the background here. I made it specifically so that this section right here, which has like the most stuff going on, has like more blur. You can actually see it a little bit here. I need to go back and correct that. You can see that it has like a blur cut off like right here. And just very quickly, I'm gonna like stuff these two in a folder and then combine them. But yeah, you can see right here that there's like a little bit of a problem there. So I need to go with the blur brush. Brush seems like one of those words that's going to be like that becomes super difficult to pronounce as you say it more quickly. It's like a natural tongue twister. But yeah, I need to like smooth out the difference there. Yeah, you can see it also happening around here. And that's very difficult to perceive, right? Like, deliberately so I made that difficult to perceive, because I've learned that if you want to focus stuff on the foreground, you need to blur the background a little bit. This is like a camera trick, but it's also true for like digital art as well. And so, like I said, because this area here is like much more complex, I wanted to make sure that the background was more blurred so that it would be a little bit easier to focus your eyes. You know, once you get into like more than a few colors or like a few lines at a time, that's why in the black and white version it has all these like, you know, fluttery effects around here, because unlike with, you know, first of all, I can blur the background here to make that effect happen, but it's necessary so your eyes don't have too much information at once, because otherwise the page is just a pain to look at. Yeah. It's not fun reading comics when you have when it's difficult to understand what the hell is going on in the page. It shouldn't be a challenge to try and read your work, unless you're like going for a deliberate House of Leaves style difficulty level. I don't know. Is the House of Leaves fun to read? I don't read too many books, but but from what I understand, the House of Leaves is like a special case in that it tries to make itself deliberately difficult to read, just because of the way that it's constructed. Okay, here's another cool thing from version 2.0. Now I can drag this around, so I don't have to like weirdly position my place on the screen for this. Yeah. Oops, I didn't mean to select that bit. Well, I'm sure it's fine. Oh, right. Okay, I think I finally remember what I was talking about. Okay, so I think earlier I was talking about like challenges, right? Like I was talking about like difficulties, and I think in animation, I don't know. Okay. So I was thinking to myself about like the origin of the word tribulation. I don't remember. And I think that's kind of like why I connected it to those like guilty pleasure comics of mine, because, you know, they use this word a lot in those too. But, you know, there's this idea of like tribulation, right? To me, a tribulation is something that is very challenging, but it rewards you for that challenge. It's something that, you know, it's a risk, and it has a worthy reward. You know, it's not something that you can necessarily prepare for. I think that's kind of like what a tribulation means to me. Like, it's something that you can't prepare for, or that at least preparation cannot save you from it. But nevertheless, it's because you experience it that you become prepared, if that makes sense. Like, you can't train for it, but you can, like, if you can find it in yourself to overcome it, that will certainly make you stronger. That's, to me, what a tribulation is. Is this the flats layer? Why did I All right, riddle me this, Batman. Why did you name one layer flats and one layer fill? Those mean the same thing. Oh my god, I need a vacation. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen anytime soon. If anything, things are going to get more hectic around here. Like I said, spring is finally coming around. Even here, where it's cold as hell. You know, relatively speaking for me. From what I understand, I actually live in one of the warmer parts of the country, which fucking baffles me. What do you mean there are places colder than this? Well, I mean, obviously there's like places colder than this, you know, in the world, but like not locally. You know, not like nationally. sometimes you have to have like a good. It's good to have like a healthy relationship with like complaining. I mean that, I really do. Because if you can't find it in yourself to laugh stuff off with like complaints, you're going to have a much worse time than somebody who either just needs to complain or, well, no, not needs to complain. This is a difficult way to phrase it. Like, sometimes complaining can be good for you, especially if you can like, spin it as a joke. It provides some much needed levity. It doesn't, it doesn't wear out quite as much as like a normal amount of complaining would. So I think if you can't laugh at your own situation, you either need to try harder or you're just that fucked. How does that one phrase go? If I don't start laughing, I'll start crying. Something like that. It's really funny to me, personally. It's not a good thing, but it's funny to me that like one of the few ways that humans can like force themselves to react is to laugh. Yeah, that's why sometimes people like laugh at unfortunate moments, or they like laugh at stuff that you maybe shouldn't laugh at. Is because sometimes people just don't have a reaction other than to maybe start laughing. Or rather, that because they're forcing themselves to react, they just start laughing a little bit. It could also be interpreted as disbelief. We don't know why people behave the way they do, unless it's like a murder story, and that's going to be like a plot relevant laughter / freak out. Oh yeah, these would be with the normal finger colors. Speaking of which, I was reading a comic earlier where like there was this dude who was like, well, dude is a strong word. There was this kid running around who was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go play outside." Okay, and he was like he was like the son of a rich family, and as he went out to play, the person standing in guard at the gate of the house, there was like a nanny there, and she was like, all right, young master, I'll see you later. And she was like, I honestly hope he just stays out of trouble. I heard that there's been a whole lot of bad things happening out there. And the gate guard, for some ungodly reason, goes like, yeah, it'd be weird as hell if like he got kidnapped or something, right? And like his eyes flash red, and you know for sure that this guy's gonna try to kidnap that kid. And like the maid doesn't react to it at all. She doesn't say anything to this. She's like, all right, cool. Thanks, Kate Guard. Have a good talk. Like she doesn't like. He's just so explicit about like, he's like, it'd be a shame if he got kidnapped. Like, and they don't say anything about this. Nobody reacts to this. To this this implied kidnapping threat. Like they immediately move on to the next scene. Nobody comments on this guy and this extremely transparent kidnapping threat. Anyway, that made me bust a gut because it's just like that implies that he regularly says this. Like the caretaker just laughed it off, like, "Oh, Jonas, you and your silly little jokes about kidnapping people." Granted, from what I've heard of like some workplace cultures, that's like not necessarily impossible. Like I understand some places enjoy the use of dark humor. I imagine like the restaurant industry and everything. A lot of people have, including myself, have the image of like cooks being like these really tough, seasoned, pun intended, like tough guys, all covered in tattoos and everything. Or like, I don't know. I feel like there's two flavors of professional chef. I feel like there's like the classic professional chef who's like who like maybe has a French accent and like is like immaculate, like he looks like Poirot or something. And then there's like the American kind of image of like a chef these days, which is like a dude covered head to toe in tattoos. Probably has like a waxed mustache or something. Granted, the French one might also have a waxed mustache, but his is like, the American ones is like waxed as a fashion statement, not as like a grooming thing. Anyway, yeah, I think that's a thread that I got back. God, thank God I remembered it. That was gonna bug me for life. That I'm gonna rewatch the VOD or something. I don't know. Have I said anything funny enough to be clipped this time around? Sources are uncertain. I feel like these streams are mainly for me to just like. I feel like these streams are almost like workshop time for me. I'm working out new material to try out in like gaming streams or something. I'm like all poised over here, ready to hit you with my newest Netflix comedy special routine, and you kind of like shake your head yes or no. I'm gonna sharpen these a little bit. You can tell the places where I used like hand-drawn action lines and stroke filled action lines because the stroke filled action lines are unusually neat. They've got that kind of like equal distance spacing and everything. Anyway. Yeah, it's going to go on the shading layer, and... Okay, we can probably start doing the maids now. Yeah, I realized it in the panel above while I was working on it that there was too much black point. This is not the right layer. There's too much black point on where the maids are, because... this section up here used to be like pure black. You can actually see that on page 7. That was just pure black with some white wrinkles for the dress. I actually started putting some, contrast over on top of that, because otherwise, in black and white, it's easy. I don't know how to put this. Sometimes it's easier to read stuff in black and white than it is in color. Which to some extent makes sense, because most people see the world in color. So they assume, I think in black and white, you have a little bit more suspension of disbelief. You have a little bit more leeway to work with well, no, that's not explicitly true. I feel like it's a delicate balance, right? If you work in like black and white or like, monochrome at least, if you work in monochrome, you're going to experience a thing where like you need to draw it in detail, but if you draw too much detail, it's delicate balance. I've talked a little bit about like how iconography works before, right? How like we can interpret like these 3 strokes as a smiley face, and everybody's art style has like some degree of iconographization, I guess would be the term. Because like, people with more like anime styles, they're kind of especially like those like super moe blob styles, which are like which are like very tiny mouth, huge eyes, right? Especially if you're like, yeah, like you can still, maybe very tiny nose. Gotta have the jet turbine intake hairstyle. But, you can still pretty reliably read into that as like a face, especially if you're like familiar with like, the art style. You start to recognize that as a face, right? And I like to think of my art style as like, more realistic than this, but like still not so realistic that you would say that, oh yeah, it's like a realist style, right? It's definitely leaning up more on the iconic style. I definitely prefer my simplicity, mainly because it's less work. But that aside, I think that because of the way that black and white kind of behaves, you need to be able to juggle that. Particularly like black and white makes makes your life easier because there's like less detail, but it also makes your life harder because what detail there is, you need to be able to present efficiently. I think that's the main phrase here, efficiency. Because, if you can if you can if you can use iconography to your advantage, that's efficient. That if you can get the idea of something across without drawing all its details, that's straight up just efficiency. You've made a more efficient art style. And while that's not always desirable, that might not always be what you're shooting for, it is what I'm going for. So I think it's a good exercise going back and coloring these in, because it gives me a good perspective on like the strengths and weaknesses. Because, like I mentioned before, right? The background. Before I used to be able to just literally erase bits of it away, but now I need to make sure that everything has a color, that it doesn't clash too much with the colors in the foreground. I made an alternate way of defocusing it. It's a different ball game, so I find that exciting to work with. All done. Okay, and then another quality of life thing that isn't from the updates, but I did do for me, is that now I've moved the 3 most used pens that I have up here. That's made my life a lot easier. You could do that today. For $0, you can make your pen management much more efficient. Yeah. I've been going back and organizing. I have these huge folders of photographs, sometimes memes, animations and everything that I keep together in case I need inspiration for something. And it's been very useful, but recently I've had like a huge amount of stuff that I've needed to add to it. Every now and again I go to my usual places and like grab new sources for that. And when that happens, I have a huge influx of stuff that I need to organize and categorize. I have a lot of fun with that. But recently what I've been doing is I've also been taking the effort to grab stuff for some OC stories of mine that I need like inspiration for. And somehow that's proven to be the most difficult thing I've ever done. The thing is, right, when people start stories, when they want to tell a story, very oftentimes they get inspired by like a vibe, right? They have like a moment that they see in another piece of media in their day-to-day life, in something that makes them want to capture that emotion. They want to capture that vibe. At least for me, this is true as well. Like I sometimes like get a vibe that I want to come across, or like I want to explore a genre and I want to have it to have a specific vibe or something. So, your mileage may vary on this. So the problem is that, like, once you get past a certain point, you can't carry stuff on vibes alone, right? Like, you need to start actually having substance. And that's where it becomes more difficult because, a vibe is a vibe. You can pretty much try and wing that. But if you want the story to have substance, you can't just have pure vibes, right? I've come to hate the word vibe because, like, people start using it as a shorthand for just about everything. It's how, like, people started to abuse the word gaslight. I feel like people have been misusing the word vibe because, obviously the word vibe comes from, like, vibrations. It's the general tone and mood and customs of a place. Or, like, a situation. And while that's fair enough, like, I do feel like, I don't know, somewhere along the way we lost an understanding of what it was. I feel like nowadays, whenever somebody brings up the word vibe, like, it's for just the most rotten thing that you could think of. And I ask myself, well, how did I get here? I don't know. That happens to a lot of words, particularly the ones that have been, like, co-opted from by the internet from African American vernacular English. That's not that poor language's fault. That's the internet's fault for slaughtering the context of those words. Yes. As usual, the thing we need to blame is the internet itself. Mankind knew that they could not change, so instead of reflecting on themselves, they blamed the internet. To be fair, a lot of the time the fault does lie in the internet. So while my assessment may be harsh, it is not inaccurate. The only times I've ever been inaccurate was when I was playing first-person shooters. And third-person shooters. And fourth-person shooters, if such a thing exists. I don't know, would a fourth-person shooter be like... I feel like, going back to Disco Elysium, I feel like Disco Elysium is technically a fourth-person shooter during the sections where you end up using your gun. Because, first person is you're like in the cockpit of the person with the gun, right? Second person shooting. Well, no, actually, I think Disco Elysium would be second person shooting because third person shooting would be like you're outside of the body, but then that's also. No, second person shooting would be like the Stanley Parable if the narrator had like a forced FPS segment. Right? Because it says like you shoot them and that's outside of your control. Like, is Spec Ops: The Line still like a relevant game in discussions? I remember everybody and their grandmothers used to talk about Spec Ops: The Line, and now they don't. Because like back then it was like, oh yeah, this game is about like the pinnacle of the futility of war and such. Nowadays, like, it's not talked about too much. Like, I don't know. It's weird when that happens. Like, it's weird when like a game is like touted as like a groundbreaking discovery, but then it gets like snowplowed aside for like the next big groundbreaking discovery in like video game storytelling. I want to believe with all sincerity in my heart that Undertale just whooped. Yeah, that Undertale whooped Spec Off the Line's ass so hard that it just created a whole new thing for this like idea of video game narratives. Yeah, that's what throws Spec Off the Line. Not another shooter game, but Undertale. By the way, if you've never played Undertale, I think it's like $3 on Steam right now. 3 American doll hairs on Steam right now. So if you want to cop that, I highly urge you to. Even if you've read the story, the gameplay is still very solid. And by gameplay, I mean experiencing the bits firsthand. Because the thing is, right, Undertale is a very unique game in that because of the way that it's just intended to be played, you are very unlikely to have an identical playthrough you're very unlikely to just have an identical playthrough. I think that's what I was trying to get at. Because, for example, you might choose to do things a certain way in one playthrough, but then do them slightly different in a playthrough. Never mind that you can't get the true ending. Spoilers for a game that's been out for Undertale came out in 2015? September 2015, I think. So spoilers for a game that's been out for 8 years now. Holy shit! Can you believe that? We're 2 years away from an Undertale 10th anniversary. That is insane. Okay, so here's what we're gonna have to do. Since the explosion is coming in from this side, that's gonna be the light source. Which one means that the maid's dump truck is going to be, the maid's entire bakery is going to be on display here. But also... Alright. What's the best way to do this? Oh yeah, another fun thing. If you turn the area scaling up to 2, it erases any need to replace the lines here. So that's another neat thing that I learned that'll probably save me time if I remember to do it. Okay, then over like this. Nope, not quite. I've talked about earlier how I associate certain phrases with certain fictional characters. I still can't say not quite or not right without associating it with A, Doug Dimmadome, or B, that one bit from I think Super Fast Jellyfish by Gorillaz. Let's see. Oh, okay. I was gonna be like, did I accidentally give this maid Digitrade legs? And the good news is that I didn't. That's also part of the dress. Okay, then over like this. Then right here, I'll just start... What should I start doing, actually? Because I can start filling it underneath here. But there's no way to kind of Actually, no, there is. Hang on, I got an idea. Okay, let's use the millipen over here. The next thing that I gotta do for myself to increase my, brush selection efficiency is to make it so that the Milli pen is actually like around here, like right below the calligraphy pen, because I still expect it to be lower down on the list. Like my muscle memory still tells me like the Milli pen's down and lower on the list. And while I could make it so it's just closer to the other, what do you call it? To the other pens, I'm not going to do that. Or retrain my muscle memory to make me go closer to the other pens. I'm not going to do that. Like the entire reason that I moved it up there is for muscle memory purposes. Okay, then we're going to use the soft eraser right here. Ooh, actually, hang on. What if I were to motion blur? No. However, what if I were to paintbrush tool? That's not really working either. Or, yeah, there we go. Wait, no, that's a normal pen tool. What the hell am I doing? I keep mixing up these two because they have similar icons. What kind of maniac has a pen with... Hang on. Oh, this actually helps a little bit. Anyway, as I was saying, what kind of maniac makes a cross-hatching tool with a pen icon? Like, that's fucked up. That's like... That's like putting signs on the road where the left one says right and the right one says left. That is like deliberate jukes. Why are you doing that? That's suspicious. That's illegal. Stop that right this instant. Stop. You have violated the law. Then over here... Now, see, I think I confused my own dang muscle memory, because now I can no longer remember where the Milli pen is. Period. Oh, well. I'm like Sisyphus if Sisyphus's punishment was remembering where he put the dang car keys or something. For all we know, that might have actually been Sisyphus's punishment on account of the fact that cars weren't invented yet. You know, that would be a very interesting punishment to give to someone, to wait for an invention that hasn't been made yet and will not be made for at least a few millennia. That's like a good way to do it. I remember I listened to this podcast story one time about a dude who was playing a tabletop game, Planescape, or I guess Planescape is a setting, not an actual tabletop game. But in Planescape there is a character called the Lady of Pain, and she's not a nice person, to say the least. She's like benign at best, but like you don't get the nickname Lady of Pain by being a nice person. Right? Anyway, the Lady of Pain, right? If you cross her, one of her special moves is to literally teleport you to like a torture maze, and if you miraculously make it out of there, you get to live. But the thing is, like, almost nobody has escaped the torture chambers, but at least somebody must have. Like at least one person must have, given that we have like accounts of it. That or they sent a drone there. And it just kind of like radioed back instructions of like, help, big maze, help. Trapped here forever, stop. I miss my family, stop. Anyway, Lady of Pain, she teleports you to a maze, and one dude wanted to get like become like a wise ass because like he had a character whose like special talent was like being able to find their way outside of any maze. And I was like, huh, I bet I can make my way out of this maze no problem. So he for some reason decides to go with the Lady of Pain, who again, you don't get a nickname like that by being easy to screw over. Anyway, he picks a fight with the Lady of Pain. He gets teleported into a maze, and the maze ends up being literally a hallway that is like infinitely long, almost infinitely long, with the door at the end of it, so that he doesn't need to figure out how to escape. He knows how to escape, but it's just impossible to escape it. I remember listening to that podcast one time. Don't remember its name, but I remember the story pretty well. That was when I was like, what, 12? Probably older than 12, given, actually. Probably more like, probably closer to 14. Nope. Between 12. Okay, so. Now I want to say like between, yeah, around. I was 14 when I heard that story, so I don't remember many of the details. Let's see. Then over here. Close down this by like 6 pixels. There we go. Probably gonna lower the shadow on this too. The good news is that on this panel in particular, the shading is extremely simple because there's one very obvious and overwhelming light source. The explosion. I keep like flitting over the idea of just reusing this panel for this panel's background for this panel, because the thing is, right, while it would save me a little bit of time, it's probably not going to work for this panel. Like, it's going to be way too noticeable, so I can't just reuse that. Okay, I'm gonna use like a white puff of smoke here for the jet takeoff. That is the wrong layer. Oh yeah, I also need to do the colors on Amelian's pants. Or, as the British would say, trousers. God, I can't imagine somebody calling them like disco trousers or bell-bottom trousers. Like, granted, that's their name, but like, Austin Powers. I couldn't imagine Austin Powers saying like disco trousers. Was that like something that they did on purpose? Like, I know the actor who played Austin Powers also played Shrek and is also like Scottish. So I do wonder, like, if Scottish people have that same thing, where instead of calling them pants, they call them trousers. One of those great linguistic mysteries. Okay, then over here. Okay. No, I think having the like skinny line shading on those is gonna not look great. No, I think I'm gonna need to join the line here. You know, the pants line here. No, that doesn't work. What if I made this one smaller? What about that? No, then... Huh, okay, yeah. No, wait, hang on. It'll need to be a little bit something more like this. And then also this would need to be, like, smaller. Okay, there we go. I know how shading works. I know how shading works! Maybe like this? Eh, what the hell, that works. Man, I hope if anybody buy... I sincerely hope that if people buy this comic and they end up, like, by some miraculous reason finding my Twitch channel, actually it wouldn't be all that miraculous. I imagine, like, we'll have, like... I am putting down my name on this thing as Pabs, so I imagine if they try hard enough, they'll be able to find me. Not to toot my own horn, but my art style is at least consistent enough that they'd be able to recognize me by that. That reminds me, I saw another streamer got another VTuber got their model done by Mary Kegel, aka Cube Watermelon, who is an artist that I've been following since I think middle school. Yeah, Cube Watermelon does really good stuff. They made Kiwi Blitz, a webcomic that I remember was a big influence on me. Way back when. Anyway, I'm very proud of myself because one time, when this person was like showing off their new, like, hints of their new model, I was able to almost immediately be like, oh, okay, yeah, Cube Watermelon did the modeling for that. I don't know. I'm not usually, like, proud of how much... like, I'm not one of those people who's like, aha, yes, I know this bit of trivia. Like, I'm happy about the stuff that I know, but I'm not, like, smug about it. But I felt, like, very smug about knowing that because it was like, supposed to be, like, a big teaser thing. To be perfectly fair, the idea behind that probably wasn't to, like, make it a huge teaser thing because, Cube Watermelon's art style is, like, super recognizable. So, it was probably almost like, it was a little bit of a teasing thing as, like, additional marketing, but I still felt very proud of myself for that. That was my once-in-a-decade art snob moment. Or, internet... I don't know, can you be an internet art snob from a technical perspective? Because the thing is, right, there are more internet digital artists than there are stars in the sky right now in this present moment. I don't know if that'll change in the future. I hope it doesn't change in the future because you know, having this competition around makes me happy. It's one of those rare situations where I'm happy there's lots of competition for what I do because, we all inspire each other, right? You see some cool digital art and you're like, wow, I want to learn to do that, or wow, that looks cool. I want to learn how to draw like that. And you don't copy their style. You don't assuming you're not trying to copy their style, you learn how to draw like them, and you learn what tricks they use, what they do. Maybe they're kind enough to put up a tutorial or two, and you learn like what tools they have at their disposal to make what they do look like what they do. It's the online visual art community is certainly a mixed bag, but I think I'm definitely grateful to be a part of it. In as much as I am a part of it, I'm kind of a I'm low-key a cryptid on social media. I know I post a lot on Tumblr, but I don't really besides my stream announcements and such, I don't really post so much. Besides my art and my stream announcements, I don't really post much, so to speak. I think the most I've posted was probably during that one time I was stuck in an airport one time. Not even stuck in an airport. I was just bored in an airport, and I started just publishing stuff that was in my drafts. I have a whole bunch of draft tweets that I've just never sent out because the world just isn't ready for them. No, no, no. Hang on, hang on. Is this okay? No. No, something's weird here. I think this needs to be more black. Okay, line's all the way down here. That's not really an issue. I'll cope. Yeah, because the way of doing this is very hodgepodge, right? Sometimes it's difficult to judge where a line actually is supposed to be. I am 100% winging this. And while that can be a good thing, it's also unpredictable. Including to me. Okay, there we go. Oh, now what fresh hell is this? Which layer is this on? You. Oh god. Okay, that did it. That did the trick. And now I have the same color on 6 different layers. It's a good thing I don't do this because it's easy. Otherwise, I would be crying right now. Okay, and where's the shading for the head? Okay, then over here. That's the spot right here. Okay, over here. There we go. Now we just gotta tighten up. I'm gonna call. I was about to call filling in these like empty spaces that didn't get caught by the wand tool as like filling in the pores or something like that, or like touching up the pores, and somehow that feels right, but also feels extremely wrong. Well, it's one of those like it's true, but you shouldn't say it type of things, right? I don't know. Like, I don't know why they remind me of pores. Maybe because they're like tiny, right? Like they're these tiny little unfilled bits. But other than that, there's no real resemblance. So I don't think it's gonna stick around. I think that one was like good for one time and then like never again. You know, just to get it out of my system. I think I'm saying it now so I don't say it later. Oh yeah. Earlier, going back to the topic of like this homemade like olive oil coffee drink, which by the way, I'm still not like done talking about how Starbucks is making like olive oil based drinks anymore, because I feel like more people would have started making fun of that. Like I feel like not enough people have been making fun of that. I mean, if it tastes good, then I can get why, but like I don't know how good it tastes. I haven't tried it myself. I guess I probably should, question mark? I don't know, I'm not obligated to. But you know, I can't like riff on it accurately until I do. Although maybe I don't need to riff on it accurately or at all. In any case, the reason I was talking about that is because I think earlier today I wanted to make myself like something like nice, you know, it's a nice little thing for me. So I made myself what I am now going to refer to as the poor man's affogato, which is okay. Yeah, here's another reason why I'm not qualified to shit talk the new Starbucks olive oil drink, because I made earlier and enjoyed the drink that I am about to describe to you now. So the way you make a poor man's affogato is as follows: you get whatever cheap ass vanilla ice cream you happen to have on hand. You scoop out a nice sizable scoop of that. You get yourself one of those like Starbucks triple shot espresso cans. You don't use the whole can. You just use like enough to fill like a mug, you know, like half a mug. Then you microwave that and make sure that it doesn't like explode in your microwave, because that can happen. I've seen that happen to people. They wanted hot coffee instead of chilled coffee, and then they microwaved it, and then it like spilled over them all over the microwave. I warned you not to microwave that one, Dan. I warned you, but you didn't listen. Anyway, you get one of those, you microwave it for just the right amount of time, and then you pour it over the ice cream, and then you mix. And that's basically it. A real affogato is supposed to use fancy ingredients like actual pressed espresso and like gelato or what have you, but I just had regular ice cream on hand. And it tasted good. Okay, then over here. Then right like that. Cool. Now for Hawk's shading. I notice I missed a spot right here. Whenever I have to go back and fill spots like that, I have like a small moment to myself of like, phew, I'm glad I noticed that. But then I think to myself, like what would have happened if I hadn't noticed it? And that's what I like often try not to think about. Because if I had missed it, I would have missed it. And if I had missed it, then that probably means that it wasn't noticeable enough to be an issue. So it's not really a problem. The brain goblins aren't going to get me today. No, sir. But yeah, I really should start to schedule some vacation time. I've been basically nonstop since what, early January, with all sorts of different bullshit going on in my life. So I think it'd be understandable if I took a few days off of work. Not right now though, but maybe soon. I don't know. Better to take them off preemptively rather than wait until I get sick from overwork or something. A lot of people have been getting knocked down by sickness earlier, and I don't want to be one of those people. It's been years since I've been properly sick because I still mask everywhere. But, pride cometh before a fall and all that. I don't want to accidentally jinx it. Hmm. There we go. Come to think about it, we don't really need this, line here. You could probably fill it in with black right around here. And while we're at it, we might as well fill in maybe a little bit of the pockets back here. Okay, then grab this. Just notice I haven't shaded the harness on the top one. Oh yeah, here's another cool thing. I think now you can actually search up the names of the layers in here. Show layer into panes, new raster layer. It's probably going to be in view. Paper, chateau area, snap to ruler. Layer, 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 layer. I'm not seeing the option. I remember one of the version 2.0 updates was that now you can look up a layer by name, but I don't see where I could do that. May I need to make it wider? No, I don't think that's helping, somehow. Oh. Show history, palette, blah, 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 blah. Set command bar below list. Flatten image, merge visible to new layers. Now those are commands. I can't find it here. I'll figure it out later. Okay, good work. Anyway, did I keep this a little bit bigger than it used to be? I think I might have. Where was I? Oh, right. Okay. Right, I was doing that because I needed to shade the pockets and everything. The little utility belt pockets. Okay. Then next is the jacket itself. And then, okay, so this one. Then over here. And right here. That looks pretty nice. I like how it's almost like a straight line, but not quite. It's a little bit jagged. Oh, I missed a bit of skin right here. Just the tiniest little iota of skin. That's not the right shading color. Okay. I think definitely like these battle pages are going to be the ones that are going to take the longest to shade because there's a lot of different colors at play. You know, we've got Hawk and Amelia, but we've also got the maids. We've got the background, which is going to have a pretty nutty color palette. Lots to think about. Is that it for Hawk? I think that might be it for Hawk. I think it's just made a little bit on the gloves here. Actually, that looks fine as is. Having that stronger snap, I think, makes it really go well together. Well, no, we also need the chrome on the jetpack and the pistol. Over here. There we go. Then, oh shoot, I forgot the, what do you call the little like filter effect here. I'll do it by hand. Who's gonna notice? Besides anybody with eyes. That looks bad. That looks bad and I don't like it. Alright, so we do this the hard way. Or rather, this would technically be the easier way. All things considered. Is there a way to do like anti-aliasing on this? I feel like I've asked that before. Well, never. The best time to ask a question is when you first think about it. The second best time is like much later, I guess. Pabs, a buddy of Price. Hey, Jolly Troublesome Trucks, how are you? I'm doing well, and yourself? Yeah, we're finishing up the character work on these panels here. I forgot to add a little, what do you call? Dot effect? Halftone, yeah, that's the word. To this little area here, so we're going back and correcting that. I keep forgetting that clicking this button here doesn't automatically doesn't make a new halftone thing. It just like turns the entire layer into halftone, which is funny if it wasn't the exact opposite of what I needed. And let's see right here. Okay, we'll grab this. We'll grab a little bit of this. Nowadays, when I say that, I think of that one image of like that one cat that's like doing it like this. Being a whole load better from Monday, had medication for migraines. Only the noggin pain is completely gone, so I had Panda Express for a celebration. Nice. Congrats on banishing the migraine. Yeah. Dull head, like head pain is the worst because it makes you stop wanting to do everything else. It's like that. It's like the worst possible pain for me. Well, no, not the worst possible pain. The worst possible pain is like probably something much nastier. But I imagine it's not particularly convenient. So yeah, congratulations. Enjoy that Panda Express. Okay. Also, since I established it that it's a thing that the maid's, what do you call, beam katana, I'm gonna say, beam meat carver, has like an interior thing. I'm going to need to go ahead and add that too while we're at it. Man, you can say what you will about Star Wars and its general existence, but they really popped off with the idea of like a sword, but it's also a laser. Like like because they did it at such a like a profoundly convenient time, right? Because like sci-fi was an old genre even by the time that Star Wars had gotten there. But like they were the one of the first ones who were like, "Hey man, wouldn't it be awesome if a laser was a sword?" And almost all of society unanimously agreed, "You know what? That would be pretty cool." And since they were like one of the pioneers to it, they somehow managed to become the benchmark for what a good beam katana does, or what a good. You know what? No, I'm gonna take a controversial stance and say that like lightsaber, like beam katana, is a better term for lightsaber than lightsaber is because, well, no, I mean, okay. So hear me out. The reason I say this is because there is a lot of explicit imagery relating to like samurai movies in the original Star Wars, right? I've read about this. I've read about how like a lot of the like fight scenes in the original Star Wars trilogy were based on samurai movie fight scenes. You know, the lightsaber fighting and everything. So, in my opinion, calling them beam katanas is more faithful to their original creation and intent. However, you know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily better or more appropriate because, you know, first of all, beam katana is like a No More Heroes thing. That's if you say beam katana, most people will assume you're talking about like the No More Heroes weapon. And second of all, you know, because of just a profound number of ways you can make a variation on a topic, you know, you have like a beam lightsaber, which is just like a normal sword. You have like the one that they introduced in the sequel trilogies, which is like that with the crossguard and everything. You can do a lot of funky stuff with it. So, you know, it's no longer a beam katana. It's just like a beam sword. And if you just call it like a beam saber or or a lightsaber, people will still understand what you're talking about. It's more universal. But I will stand firm by the fact that like my thing of like calling it a beam katana when I don't remember the word lightsaber is still 100% valid. Not accounting for the fact that this isn't even a katana. Again, it's supposed to be a meat carver. The fact that it happens to carve human flesh is just a happy coincidence. All right, they had little buttons here. Then you right here. Hmm. There we go. Actually, I think there is an RPG, a tabletop game called Beam Saber. I remember a couple of my friends talking about it, but I don't remember like. I mean, obviously, it's probably going to be like a sci-fi thing, but I don't remember what its core gimmick was because most days, these days, right? Tabletop. It's not enough that you like create a functional tabletop game. It's got to have some kind of gimmick to it, right? Like I don't know. The main reference that I have for tabletop games is one Dungeons and Dragons because freaking everybody knows Dungeons and Dragons. That's like, personal opinions on like, some of the practices of it aside. It's pretty ubiquitous. If you like, even my parents know, like, oh yeah, it's like Dungeons and Dragons. Like if I like talk to them about like a board game or a tabletop game, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like Dungeons and Dragons, and like that'll be like their anchoring point, right? It's like their point of reference. Like I've talked about it before. It's very important to have those points of reference with other people. Like if you understand something that they can understand, it's easier to explain something to them. But anyway, as I was saying, so I don't know like what Lancer's main gimmick is, but well, obviously besides robots, I mean like robots is a pretty big thing in Lancer. In fact, it's one of the core gameplay mechanics in Lancer that you have a big robot. For a given definition of big, it's not like they're not like Pacific Rim Jigger size, but like they're also not like tiny either. They're not like those like robot. Have you guys seen like those like robot gladiator shows? Like they're bigger than that. I mean they must be, right? They have like a human inside of them, so. Well, I mean, unless you have a very small human, you could conceivably fit like a gnome in one of those. I have an idea for I have a new idea for a Lancer homebrew that features all gnomes in like a gladiator game. Utopian pillars of the Union be damned. Those gnomes can gladiatorialize. That's not a word. But it can be if we try hard enough. I almost feel like this is going to be so hard to do. Well, no, it's not going to be. It's going to be tough to do, but it'll look really cool. It's just going to be a little bit of a pain to retroactively apply it. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to need to select where the lines aren't already. Okay, then I'm going to need to rip this out. So, I don't know how many of y'all have seen the, I'm going to say 90s-ish, probably 90s. I don't remember when it was made specifically. I don't remember like the exact year it was made, but I remember it was like in the 90s. The 90s animated movie Akira. But in Akira, they have a very cool effect on the motorcycles that they do by showing their speed by like showing the light trailing behind them, which has been replicated it's an effect that's been replicated almost as much as the bike scene from that movie, as the bike slide, the Akira bike slide. Huh. It occurs to me that people might not know what that is either. So Google like Akira bike slide, and you'll see a lot of examples of this. But basically, that movie is also famous for having a thing where the main character, Kaneda, has like this moment where he is riding very fast on a motorcycle, and he does a very sudden like he skids to a halt and does it in a very specific way. He does it in such a way like that he keeps advancing like this while the bike is sideways. I'm going to use a darker color for this so that you can see more clearly. But yeah, like it goes like this, and like imagine like the motorcycle is like this. His motorcycle is kind of like weirdly pill shaped, so I'm going to use a more like generic motorcycle or like even bike thing. Right, and the guy on it is hang on. And the guy on it is like this. Like he's like sliding forward and it looks like this. And that's what the Akira bike slide is. And that shows up in so many places. It's kind of hilarious. I think it even showed up in like the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series. I remember seeing a post about that. All right. We still miss a spot over here. Now, the good news is that this looks sick as hell, as was precisely my intention. The bad news is that this is going to be a nightmare to shade. Perhaps more so on the. Well, no, I mean. I'll figure it out or I won't, but I do have to go back into this other layer and fix that. I think what's bothering me about it as well is that this tip over here doesn't like melt into the swoosh very effectively. Oh, wow, that looks bad. We're not doing that. Unless, hang on. Hang on. We might have a way to save this. Here we go. Now, what I do need to be cautious of, is the smoke plume back here. I need to push that in a little bit. And also not erase any of the other lines while I'm at it. Oh yeah, I read apparently about this thing called like the sargassum clump. So it's apparently like this big thing of algae that is supposed to head towards Florida, and you know, algae is normally not that big of an issue. You know, it's usually kind of manageable, but apparently this one has the special quality of stinking like rotten eggs when it washes up. So that is a problem for the residents. Hang on. But yeah, that's a problem for the residents. So they want to be very careful about it. And apparently, and this is the part that really like got to me out of the article, that like it didn't like get to me emotionally, but it got to, unless you count like fear as an emotion. But what got to me about the articles is apparently that these clumps, you know, first of all, it's not new that these clumps wash up. That's like normal, but they've for some reason been getting bigger, and nobody knows why. And I think that might be a little bit of a cause for alarm. Like, I don't think anybody had like big stinky pile of algae as an omen on their 2023 bingo sheet. But if you did, I mean, hats off to you. You've somehow managed to predict this. Yeah, like also the other reason that article stuck with me is because the scientific name of this algae, sargassum. First of all, I think it's supposed to mean like sea. It's probably means something like seagrass, to be totally honest. But it reminds me of the name of the town in the fictional play, which is also like a real book, called The King in Yellow. which is one of my favorite Eldritch Horror stories, mainly because it has some of the rawest lines I have ever heard. Seriously, I really like The King in Yellow. First of all, because it's not actually made by Lovecraft, so that's good. That's a good starting point. And second of all, because, second of all, because, the entire thing of The King in Yellow is that it's a sort of anthology about this. I think like it's either excerpts of the play or it's like anthology of stories connected to this play. So The King in Yellow itself is a play that has like, Eldritch Horror powers, right? It's like a forbidden cursed artifact that if you perform it, it like summons one of those things with like tildes in their name, which isn't good. So naturally, somebody tries to perform it anyway, or at least try to find out more about it. And I remember one of the lines that really stuck out to me, which is probably not like super chilling out of context, is like at one point there's like an excerpt of the play, right? Where the whole plot of the play, I think it's something similar to the Mask of Red Death, where like these rich people in a town called Saragossa have like a masquerade ball, and one of the guests is like this dude in like a really freaking ugly mask. Like everybody's like, dude, your mask is sick as hell. I love it. It looks so grotesque and awful. And he like kind of like nods and goes along with it and probably like heads towards like the entree table or something. And then like near toward the end of the banquet or ball or whatever you have, people start to be like, okay, party's over, time to start unmasking. And everybody starts unmasking except this guy. And one of the maids is like, hey, dude, like party's over, it's time to unmask, like it's time to take off our mask. And he's like, yeah, I'm not wearing a mask, I wear no mask. And almost immediately everybody's like, huh, that's just your face then. And he's like, and everybody starts losing their shit because, hey, that dude's face is like a mass of pulsing, I don't know what have you, like pulsing barnacles or something. Come to think of it, there was that one mascot in like the Atlantic part of Canada that was a like living clam or something. I don't remember too much about it. But yeah, that's why I really like The King in Yellow, because it has that like little exchange. Obviously, it's much more dramatic than when I'm retelling it because I add my own jokester flair to it. So it's not delivered nearly as seriously. Also because I like the names of some of the short stories. Like there's one called like The Repairer of Reputations, which I feel is like a cool name. But yeah, that's why I remember this article that I read is because like the name of the algae, sargassum, stuck out to me. Mm, uh, I don't know if I like it though. I don't know if I like how it came out. I think what I might need to do, hang on. I know what I need to do to make me feel better about this. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do Actually, I'm going to need to shrink that. But then add a little bits here and there. But then, oh, Oh, actually, hang on. Before all that, I missed a spot right here. Oops. Okay. Okay, I think that what I might need to do is to make this more of like a curve sharper right around here. No. Okay, the original idea was correct. Okay, we're gonna need to rework some of this then. Might as well go back quite a bit then. How far back can we go? Oh yeah, no, we're gonna need to rework a lot of this. Well, that's life, I guess. Nothing you can do about it. Thankfully, there are tools to make that easier. So like this multiple layer eraser. Judicious application of this tool shall help us. Yeah, thankfully we only have like a few intersections right here and there outside of this. There we go. All right, now we grab this layer here, grab the rough, and you're out of here. Okay, now we rework that. Okay, I need to curve this to my hand. Let me make sure my wrist is nice and stretched. Nice and limber. Remembering to stretch properly is one of the best things you can do for yourself. I remember the 3 things that like you need to be able to do consistently is like I remember seeing this TikTok, right? That almost automatically disqualifies it from advice, but this does seem like sound advice, at least in this case. That said that the 3 things you should be able to like consistently do and try to practice doing, you know, if you've ever got like a spare minute or two, are 1, balance on one leg, 2, be able to stand up from the chair without like grabbing the chair, getting off of the floor, and then laying on your stomach. I think like those are the 4 ones. Like I think those were like the big 4 things you needed to be able to do consistently in order to like, you know, if you do those, if you keep doing those consistently, you're going to be pretty well done, pretty well set, because of the fact that those are like the main things that people have difficulty with as they become older and, you know, as time passes. I remember seeing that. But yeah, to me, the one that I think stands out the most is like getting off the floor, because I can't remember, like I get on the floor all the time. Like after stream, I give myself a little bit of like quality time with the floor, because that's just how I enjoy life personally. Sometimes becoming one with the grounded spawn does is the surest way to return to nature. That's okay. That's not true. The best way to return to nature is to just literally go take a walk in the park. It's a few idioms away from being a literal cakewalk, so you should try to invest in that, and I should too. But as I was saying, um, yeah, I think the one that I think about the most is getting up off the floor, because I think about, like, okay, so let's think about the last time that I got up off the floor. I think, like, there's that one joke, right? Like, do you remember the last time you jumped? Right? Like, this is usually in the context of, like, video games. Like, why can't he jump so high? And somebody's like, do you remember the last time you jumped? I need to jump more often. I know that it's very good plyometric exercise, but the thing is, I'm like 90, 80 kilos, and like that doesn't lend itself very well to like vertical movement. Like, my knees can take it. My knees are not the problem. My problem is finding something that is sufficiently sturdy to practice that, because, like, I don't know, you'd need to find something that is like both secure enough to like hold your weight, and in like an environment where you won't be judged for it. So ideally, I would want like a metal crate from, like, to like jump on and off for that plyometric practice, or at least like a very sturdy wooden crate, or like something made out of concrete. But the problem is, like, if I start doing that outside, you know, I'm not somebody who is easily made self-conscious, but I feel like exercising outside is one of those things that it very easily makes me self-conscious. Mainly because, it's one of those things where I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but even though I'm really not. Like, those are the ones that I have the most difficult time things. Those are the ones that I have the most, like, difficulty being not self-conscious about, because, like, it's a perfectly regular thing to do, but it feels like I'm doing something wrong. Also, I got a very good idea for how to handle this. Check this. All right, so I'm gonna select from editing layer only. There we go. I'm gonna shrink this twice, and boom! Suddenly I've got the wait, no. Okay, never mind. I understand. Well, yeah, no, that's not gonna work, I think. What to do? Oh, wait, is there a selection pen? Yeah, array selection. Okay, so I'm going to do 100 stabilization on this. Increase brush mode a little bit, and then, yeah, just like that. Oops. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna do this on a new layer just in case. But I think I got it figured out. Okay, if nothing else, this is going to be a lot easier to handle than what I originally had planned. So that's already a big win for me. Hmm. Okay, there we go. Come on, bud. The most difficult part when I'm doing it this way, I think, is, well, first of all, remembering to draw from the shoulder. It's always a big pain. But second of all, it's severing it, because like sometimes there's like little wisps here and there that are like difficult to tell when you've gotten rid of. Okay, rough eraser. Then go back here, and then boom. Oh, wait, maybe... would that look good? I don't think so. I think what might look good, actually, though, is... Well, first of all, if I cleaned this up a little bit, still got some weird little bits here and there. But second of all, if I... Oh, yeah, that is weird. Hang on. Come on, there we go. Anyway, the second idea is to go like this. Now, I think it needs to like split off the beam right here. Yeah, okay, that looks good. I like that. Okay. Oh, God, and now I gotta do that on the other page. Fuck my life. I love drawing, I love art. I love drawing and I love art. I swear to God I have fun doing these. I promise. Now for this one, though... Alright. This one might be a bit of a harder sell. I'm probably also going to do it on a separate layer, just in case. Can't be too careful with these things. Now, gotta be careful in case this all goes pear-shaped. I like that we use pear-shaped as a phrase, in the context of like when things go awry. Because the pear isn't even like the most weird-looking fruit. It's got an unusual shape to be certain, but like, I don't think like most fruits are round. I think that's just like a thing, right? That most fruits are round. But it's still funny to me that we somehow picked the pear of all... How recent could that phrase have been, right? Because, like, we've discovered a whole lot of different fruits since then. And you never hear about something going lychee shaped, or, going friggin', starfruit shaped, or going... Well, no, going starfruit shaped makes it sound like it's a good thing, right? Because it's a star. I don't know. Is that a good thing? But yeah, like, we don't use the phrase like starfruit shape. We don't use the phrase like lychee shape. We don't use the phrase Freaking dragon fruit shaped. We don't use a use pineapple shape to describe when something goes wrong. It's only ever for the pear. Why does the pear get picked on? Granted, it's not my favorite fruit, but it's not. It's not like bad. It's good for marinades. See, I think the reason that like the pear got a bad rap is because the apple has so much time in the limelight. People everywhere know what an apple is, right? Like, apple is like one of the top 10 fruits. So it's very difficult to, I think that's the reason why the pear gets the shaft in a lot of the cases, is because it's just not quite as popular as the apple. It doesn't have the kind of star power that the apple has. It gets no representation. No, hang on. That follows the curvature of the jetpack a little too much. I need to fix that here as well. Did I make it wider in the other one? I think I did. Now, see, this line feels like awkwardly thick is the problem. Awkwardly thick was the name I used to dance under. Anyway, yeah, the line weight on this one feels off. I'll need to work on that. Let's see. First, let's clear a little bit of space here for the curvature. Okay, right around here, here, and here. And then we just scoop out these guys here, and we should be good to go. I think this is probably going to be the last thing I do before I end stream tonight. Wait, what if I made the sword point a little bit sharper here? And that way it was emphasized. Again, calling it a sword, it's not a sword, but that's fine. It's meant for you to forget that. Sword, meat carver. It all does the same job at the end of the day. A properly maintained and well-oiled sword can for sure carve up a roast beast dinner. Do not ever forget this. I mean, I guess that's also assuming you're using like food grade mineral oil to maintain it, I guess. Hmm. Probably not the best tool you could use. Like, obviously, you'd probably want some manner of knife. You know, doesn't need to be electric like this one necessarily, but like, you'd want something. Something like with a little bit of bite to it, No, 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 no. Having those lines there at the end, something about this feels awkward. Like I feel like it needs to go this way, right? Can you tell that I have like my own head tilted to like kind of adjust this? Maybe I should just tilt the canvas and give my neck a little bit of a rest, or the lack of thereof. I like to imagine that my neck is kind of a similar existence to that of like the ears on one of like those kimono mini characters, like those characters have like catgirl ears, right? Like, that logically there shouldn't be anything there, but like thinking about it makes you uncomfortable. I feel like I want that to be what my neck is like. There we go. Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll figure out the rest of this some other time. I think I've had enough. All right. I'll take care now, all right? I'll see you on, well, probably later this week for some more of this. You guys enjoy your night. Bye.